call the regular village council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions, deletions, or changes to the proposed agenda for this evening? One relatively minor change. I think we're going to move agenda item number 2, which is approval of the social district, to be heard after agenda item number 4, which is special events approval. Any other suggested changes for this evening? Roll call.
President Schneider,
Present.
President Pro Tem Dyke, Councilmember Feldman,
Here.
Councilmember Glasser, Councilmember Kuligowski, Councilmember Powell, Councilmember Stuffler. Here.
By way of explanation, Councilmember Glasser, family emergency, very dire. Councilmember Kuligowski, had an employment emergency, and at 7:01 received an email from Councilmember Powell that a family emergency. So he's not attending either. We do have a quorum. Thank goodness.
For expedient choir concert.
Yes, and I did do a urgent text to Mindy saying, "Help! we don't have a quorum."
It's just right across the street.
Right. So at least we can continue for this evening. So communications, we have election information. Kim, do you want to make any statement with regard to what you provided in our packet?
Just that if anyone who wishes to be on the ballot for council, they must file with the Almont Township Clerk no later than 4 p.m. on July 23rd of this year.
Next, we have a communication from our favorite drain commissioner. It's rather extensive. So, Kim, do you know the extent to which this communication from Mr. Suma, the drain commissioner, has been made to the public other than being sent to the village? Okay. Well, and maybe we should put it on our website or so village residents could see it. It's a notification to landowners adjacent to the Farnham.
Right.
That's
I
right.
would assume.
One
they
would
have sent
assume.
it out to
Right,
all of the
right.
landowners.
One would hope. And this has been an issue of major and significant contention over the last couple of years. And so that's that notification. And then there's explanatory language, which is fairly detailed regarding the Stroop drain. So this will be particularly significant to those people adjacent to that and who have been affected by what was done previously and apparently what's coming. Mr. Suma states that this is relates to continuing efforts to maintain the county drain, saying it's essential what they're planning to do. And so he goes into explanation. And if for any reason any of our citizens are not able to see what's provided here, you can obtain a copy from our village office.
We reach out and request a map of, I think we're
familiar with the Stroop train, but maybe residents are, and I don't personally know where the Farnham drain is and the extent of the work. Could we request maps for both of that so we can include that information? I think that would be helpful.
Sense. Agenda item communication number 3 is the posting for the police chief's position. So this has already been posted. Apparently, we're getting some responses already. The only issue I had, and just some differing opinions on this, is the posting indicates interim, and I don't know, we want an interim chief. We want a permanent police chief. And my concern was indicating there was interim may detract from some potential applicants who are looking for a permanent position. And I think the argument in favor of posting it in this fashion is, well, if we do hire a chief on an interim basis, that would give, I suppose, they might be like a 6-month testing period to see how it works out. So whatever, the posting's gone out, and we have till when?
May 30th.
May 30th? Okay. See what responses we receive. So that's moving forward. That's certainly good to hear. And moving on to our consent agenda, regular meeting minutes for our May 7th meeting. I've reviewed minutes. They appear to be fine to me. Does anybody on council have any issues, questions, concerns, corrections for the meeting minutes of May 7th? Apparently not. Moving on. General fund. Major streets, local streets. This is the Parks and Recreation Fund, Downtown Development Authority Fund, Sewer Fund, Water Fund, Equipment Fund, Payroll Register Report, Water Report, DPW Monthly Report, Wastewater Treatment Monthly Report, Police Report, Ordinance Enforcement Officer Report, Building Permit Report, also known as Construction Code Authority, Financial Position Report, Clerk Treasurer's Report, Fire Department Report.
I have a question about the inclusion of the fire department report. I appreciate seeing it. It's good information. Is there a particular reason why it was included?
Please,
May I?
please.
Yes, I asked the fire chief to start providing us a report like he does to the township. He was very willing to do that. He said this is the first and they'll continue to come to us. So it should be on our agenda each month.
Thank you.
More comprehensive, the better. Okay. Okay, and that includes Lapeer EMS. Excellent. Okay. Entertain a motion.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler, to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Approved by unanimously, let me say that, unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. So that takes care of our consent agenda. Next on our agenda is public comment time as to any item that is on our regular agenda for this evening. Is there a public comment? Being none. Next on our agenda is separation agreement from our village manager. We have received the separation agreement now signed by our manager who has been on leave, David Trent. He has signed the proposed separation agreement in accordance with the agreement we reached with him. And if council, and that separation agreement needs to be approved by council if we're going to go forward with clarifying the manager's situation, and approved by council this evening, I will sign it immediately. That being the separation agreement. So, anybody want to, Dale, do you want to make any sort of presentation regarding separation?
I
agreement?
just
Kim?
know that we received that from David about 3:30 today. He asked what would be a great time to come in and return his keys and those sort of things. We picked the 30th. It should be the same time, hopefully, as Andy's retirement event. So hopefully everybody will see him and get to say their farewells, and it'll be a good exchange. Yeah, I have a couple of boxes of things in my office for him. So
Well, he had his, 7 days to rescind his signature?
Yes.
Right, okay. Right. Council, discussion regarding that issue? Looking at it, questions, comments, concerns?
I'll make the motion to approve the separation agreement with current manager Trent as proposed.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler, to approve the separation agreements as set forth and as it has been signed by David Trent. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimously approved by all those council members in attendance. That takes care of regular agenda item number 1. Moving on to regular agenda item number 3, Clinton River Watershed Council membership. Discussion. So we all know we were here last week for the presentation by the, what am I looking at here? The Clinton River Watershed Council. Excellent presentation, and appeared to arouse some interest in council members, potential council members' membership and what that council could bring to the village. Minnie, do you want to add anything, a little promotion? Seems like it would be a good idea.
Not a whole lot to discuss. Sounds like there was positive reception from council after the Watershed Council's presentation. And they explained some of the benefits that could be available to us as members. The community outreach materials, access to grant funding, assistance with some planning at the park for improvements, and their Water Towns program, which has additional grant funding for placemaking and other benefits outside of the park around town. So good return on investment if we decide to pursue either of those grant opportunities, either within the park or around the village. And so I think it was somewhere between $600 and $700. Sort of goes up from year to year. But I think it's a good investment and a good thing to do in order to kind of highlight our connection to the watershed, raise some awareness there, and have some benefits for the park.
If I understand correctly, that if we joined at this point in time, the fee would be, membership fee would be adjusted, I think, to $606. If we join now, from the usual $727 apparently.
No, I think the 606 would be prorated.
Pardon?
I think the 606 would be prorated. They want to gradually get us up to that 727 by 2030.
Or do we know what the fee would be if we join now?
She did not provide that, but
Okay, all
I
right.
assume half, because
June
we would-
1st.
June, yeah. You would make it June to December. That's my assumption.
Okay,
We
Yeah.
can make it not to exceed the 606.
We're getting this for 3% discount since we missed the complimentary ticket to the annual meeting.
okay, well,
Did anyone
Yeah.
have any questions, concerns I can help address?
And I think their presentation was well done last week, and it looks like some of their programs could bring good benefit to the park and the village.
erosion issue, trees issue, yeah, yeah, everything. Sounds like a positive. So, all we need is a motion.
I'll make the motion that we join the Clinton River Watershed Council for the 2024 calendar year.
Motion made by Councilmember Steffler, supported by President Pro Tem Dyke, for the Village of Almont to join Clinton River Watershed Council. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Objections? Unanimously approved by all members in attendance. Now we move to our regular agenda item number 4, which is special events approval. This was on our agenda for our last meeting, and it was put over for consideration and to be provided with a map. And I believe we have now been provided with that map. So hopefully that satisfies council members that were concerned with that.
Oh, and I think we were also waiting on the state liquor approval of the district. Yeah.
And we have.
Yeah.
That's what I expected, but yeah. So, discussion. Did you want to make a presentation, Angela?
Oh, your voice got deep.
So I did have a question about the location in front of Chickies. We heard during our meeting where we were talking about the social district, and one or two of the adjoining business owners were not supportive, which was one of the reasons, at least for my vote, not to approve a common area in that location. Has this been approached with those business owners? Do we have their support? Has there been any communication with them?
So the only business that's open on Sundays between 3 and 7 would be Lucille's, and she provides pizza for Chickies Quitclaim events.
Is
So-
she aware of this, supportive?
I
traditionally had bike events like this. The only difference,
Correct.
the only
thing that's gonna
different,
be different is
the only
drinking outside.
differential would be there would be alcohol available to drink out there at this time. And she's been coming to us for years to do that. And in all of the years she's done it, I've never heard of a complaint except for the taco trucker,
Right.
the food truck.
Right.
But other than that, we've never had a complaint about loitering or any kind of incidents with that happening. So from anybody, I've never heard the village, anybody approach the village and complain about them at all because,
No, I mean, we have,
Not on the bike night events.
No.
not on bike night,
no.
the other concerns about smoking in front and the business that had their flower bed almost set on fire. That was a concern.
That was an
a concern.
exaggeration.
No, but that was a concern, but that was a daily concern. But I don't think the dance studios operating during that time.
Right.
The pizza place is providing food for those events. And on those other Sunday events where she's had her,
Bike nights.
bike nights, there's never been an issue like that. Compared to when you have dance going on and pizza place going on on the weekly nights, and more foot traffic down there, which causes a bigger disruption. I don't think this would be an issue
Yeah,
for these events.
because of the timing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of
I
the
just
time
want to
of the
make
day.
sure, you
Yeah.
know, the downtown has to work together as a
Yep.
community, and if people aren't supportive, then there's gonna be conflict.
Right.
So I think it is good that it's Sunday when there's,
Yep.
you know, some businesses that weren't supportive aren't open.
Talking about working together, the DDA set this up, these special event nights, in part because the passage of the social district by council and then approval by liquor control has had some dramatic negative effect on Chicky's business. So therefore, these event nights give her some prospect of surviving, because she's at a point where survival is an existential question for her. And the DDA thought it was the right, proper thing to do, since she's been a very good citizen businesswoman all these years. When I think I did this deal 25 years ago. So Carol Coleman to Chicky. So the DDA's contemplation was to assist with that. So that again is, DDA working with that business owner and council to help all those businesses that are affected by this. So something that should be addressed. So,
Well, it also must be noted, that it will come up in the discussion for the individual license, that if these are approved tonight, just for public record, it would be a contingent approval, because the social district can, even though the state has approved the social district cannot be activated until there's at least 2 individual licenses that are approved by the state and by council to take activation. So we would be approving these, but those dates could not take effect until those other actions happened.
And at our last discussion on this topic, there was the plan for the social district, where there's some details still in flux. So when we get to the point where we have the 2 businesses and we're ready to jump off into social district world, I would like us to be able to review that plan and have an understanding of how it will work in coordination between DDA, village staff, our police staff, and how we're all going to be working together to make sure that it's successful. Because I think that's what we all want, is it to be successful and to be a positive experience.
part of that DDA's presentation to council included, at the time that council approved it, its management and maintenance program. And that addresses a lot of those issues, a lot of the details.
Yeah.
So
but
that
there-
should be looked
But we
at.
haven't seen that plan.
That
We
was
haven't seen
presented
it.
to
We haven't
council.
seen it.
We haven't seen the
Updated.
finalized updated one, the finalized updated approved.
Right. There's still details being worked out. Am I wrong? In the social district, with like the naming, what the cups look like.
Well, the
all
cups
that
we're gonna,
stuff.
the cups we're gonna discuss tonight. The cup discussion will be tonight with the individual proposal that we're gonna see tonight. And I think that's the major thing that.
So,
the
yeah.
major discuss- Yeah.
Update the plan with all the relevant information. It comes back to council, so we all have an understanding of what's happening.
Moving forward, is what I call it. Okay. All right. So do we have a motion for special events approval?
Yeah, make the motion to approve the special events, the special events approval for the social district on the specified date schedule over the summer months, as presented, contingent on the social district becoming officially active with two of the merchants or bar owners being approved with their local license from the state.
Yeah, local government approval.
And local government approval from the village council.
I'll support that.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Feldman, to give approval to the special events in the social district. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. Now we move back to what was regular agenda item number 2, approval of the social district permit for Alex Entertainment, Inc. So with regard to this particular agenda item, I think it's well known in the community and by this council that Aaron Alec is my client. And as an Alex Entertainment, Inc. is the corporation that owns the Class C liquor license. So for that reason, 1, I will be abstaining from voting. And number 2, I will not participate in the discussion, even though I have a lot of knowledge about it, but it'll all be. So President Pro Tem Dyke will be conducting the meeting with regard to this particular issue, Resolution 240501. I step back, please.
So just for some history that we've been talking about, earlier this year, council was approached by the DDA to have Almont embark on having a social district area downtown. There was robust debate on that. Council approved the social district from the standpoint of it going to the state to be approved from a liquor license. A plan was put together between the DDA and the village administrative staff. That plan was approved within the last week by the state to allow for the social district. A social district cannot be activated unless there's 2 licensees who have their license premises approved in part by first village council, and then once village council approves it, they can't approach the state for approval until it goes through this body, and that's what we're discussing tonight. So some of those so this is the first one we've approached. So as council and administrative staff, I'd like to make sure we set a precedent on how the process goes forward, going forward. And I think Aaron has set a good example tonight. And I would suggest that if the village is approached by the other businesses that are, that have the ability to come for, put a proposal towards us, that it be required that the same thing Aaron has done, bring the expectation of the type of cup you're going to use, and also what's going to appear on the cups so they're distinguishable within the social district.
No offense, Tim, but you realize you're stealing all her thunder, right? She's got all of her prepared statements to make for her agenda item. I mean, if you'd like us to just go sit back down, you're doing a great job.
No, I just wanted to set the tone
I
because
understand.
I want us to have consistency through the body of the DDA and the village that we're all on the same page when this is happening. And the only thing I'll say before you get to talk, Aaron, because I know you love public speaking, is that one of the biggest misnomers, I guess, that the no crowd or the people that were concerned about the social district was how are the cups going to be identifiable? Well, if you got a logo on each side, no matter what color the cup is, showing this, that's pretty distinguishable. And I think that meets a pretty strong criteria. But we'll let you present and then we'll have council say what they have to say.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
Sorry, I would be more presentable, but I was in the kitchen all day. So, hi, Aaron Alec, owner of Mikey's. Now that the village's social district has been approved by Liquor Control Commission, I'm here tonight asking for your approval for our social district permit application. And I'm gonna let Steve take over from there.
She's getting over a cold as well, so
Yeah.
and I can answer some of the questions as well. But the application requires that this board, as Tim pointed out, approve or deny the application for any social district permit. The Liquor Control Commission established really clear guidelines and requirements for any applicant seeking municipal approval so that they're not only in compliance with a management and maintenance plan, but also just with the general concept of how this is supposed to work. So they lay it out right in the application that's in your packet. There are the 4 bullet points. The serving container must prominently display the licensee's trade name or logo or some other mark that is unique to be sold. For that alcohol, the serving container must also prominently display the logo or some other mark that is unique to the commons area. That's why we provided both of those. The serving container cannot be made of glass, and the serving container cannot be in excess of 16 ounces. So she brought a model of not only the glass or the cup rather that she wants to use, but also of the 2 different logos. Those are for council's approval. Those are suggestions. Nobody's going to go and those are proofs. And I agree that should be the precedent. Nobody should be going and buying these items before getting municipal approval. You should bring it in, let council weigh in on it. If it was somebody who was trying to propose a logo that was 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, it's too small, just bring it in. Council should have approval of how big it is, how clearly defined it is, how unique it is. So that's kind of the concept that we're trying to display here is what it is that we're going to use in order to make it clearly designated as a cup that belongs to the social district. So that way it not only makes identification easy, but accountability is the main point. We can hold not only who sells the alcohol, but also who consumes the alcohol accountable if we label it properly. So that's the main concept behind that. And like I said, that's also what is the requirement for Liquor Control Commission. That's what the statute and regulation calls for. So if this board has any comments or would like to make any requests or modifications to the logo as to its design, its size, placement, we're willing to accommodate those. And if this board has any requests or specifications as to the cup, other than as presented, we're open to those as well.
Assuming the cup standing like this, one logo will be on front and one will be on back, it's going to be very distinguishable. Or I would say at least, I guess the only component I would say is the logo can't be placed on the bottom of the cup. It should be placed on the side, so it's prominent.
Wouldn't even fit. I mean,
Right.
that's 2.5 by 2.5 inches.
Yeah.
That is to scale. If you want it larger, we could do larger. If you want it smaller, fine, but it needs to actually fit on the side. So that's the main concept there. And it's the only other comment would be as to the social district logo as well. Speaking with the chairman of the DDA, it's actually the intent of the DDA that they're going to be purchasing those stickers and providing those to licensee applicants that get approved, at least preliminarily. So I was trying to clarify whether or not licensee applicants are supposed to be ordering those themselves to make sure it exactly matches, or was the DDA providing them? He believes it's going to be part of their budget. The DDA is going to be providing them at least initially for the time being. So each individual applicant will have to get one for their own logo.
What size is that cup?
16 ounces.
Is that 16 ounces? And and you saw when I borrowed it, if you wrap both logos around, it will be hard for somebody carrying a cup around that you can't tell that it's not a social district cup. And I think that, personally, I think that, because me and Stephen had a nice 45-minute debate on, or discussion on this yesterday. And,
It's a debate, you can go.
Stephen,
I think the concerns of everybody are that, just that it's prominent. I think that's the biggest thing, that it's prominent, and if everybody has an individual logo, and like Stephen said, you can distinguish where it was purchased, because one of the stipulations from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission is you cannot take a cup from one establishment to the other.
Exactly.
Which I was happy about with some of these regulations, because it kind of holds the bar owners responsible, and the consumer
Right.
responsible.
Everybody who participates get
Right,
held
yeah,
accountable. That's
so-
the concept.
So initial, at least initially, the bar owners buy cups with their logo and then get a DDA sticker to put on there. That way,
I think in truth, I think it's just going to be cups, and I think both are going to be stickers. I don't think that they're, because this also gives, you want flexibility as to cup ordering, as to, you know, whether or not a specific one is in stock, ordering or whatnot. You're going to keep the relatively same size, relatively same concept, but not necessarily ordering it that way. Stickers, absolutely, it's going to be stickers. And I know that as far as other municipalities who have active social districts, that's pretty much what all of their licensee applicants do as well. It's stickers.
Is that what they did in Peerville?
Yes, sir.
And it worked pretty.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as the process started, when we were at this point, they talked about having the glasses printed with those right on it. The cost was astronomical, so
I
they
looked into
immediately
that.
defaulted to
And it
stickers.
is.
makes sense.
So from just from a village administrative point, I would say that we put it into our process that when any of the other two businesses or any future businesses want to apply for their individual license for the social district, that when they come before council, obviously they'll have this information, but for them to present, they should do what Aaron did and have their logo and their plan ready to present. But this should be part of that plan. This is good. This is good organization. Appreciate it. So because we're setting a precedent here with the first one, it's pretty straightforward. Does anybody else on council have any other concerns about their application or how the cups will be displayed?
No, I don't.
And that being said, I need a motion.
Specific resolution.
It is.
Yep, it's a resolution, yeah. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 24-05-01 for Alex Entertainment Incorporated for their social district permit application to the State Liquor Control Commission.
We have a motion made by Mr. Feldman, supported by Councilmember Stoffler, sorry. I brain farted. To approve the Mikey's application for
Social district permit.
Social district application. All those in favor say, roll call.
Roll call.
Steffler?
Aye.
Dyke?
Aye.
Feldman?
Aye.
Schneider?
Abstain.
Motion passes 3-0 with all council members present. Thank you, and with that said, I will turn the meeting back over to President Schneider.
Thank you for your time,
Thank
folks.
you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Aaron. Happy cooking. to work out. Okay, moving on to regular agenda, item number 5, DDA fiscal year 2025 proposed budget.
Speech.
So.
Just say you have it. They're clearing it.
Angela, are you-
Budget?
are you going to be addressing this situation?
Are you?
Mhm.
Let me get my budget, sorry guys. Am I presenting? I thought I was not presenting.
Well,
You are the executive director, so. Who better?
The village manager said, you won't need to say anything tonight.
Mr. President, we did go over the budget.
Okay, fine.
But I can answer any questions you have.
Did attend that meeting of the DDA and very thorough in reviewing each of the revenue items and expense items that are set forth as proposed, and looked like a good budget to me, but other council members may have some questions.
I
Or concerns.
apologize, I wasn't present for the DDA portion of the budget. Is there any large projects or expenditures this year?
We did double our capital outlay from 20 to 40 with the hope that the purchase of the Old American Legion goes through and we can turn that into a parking lot. So we doubled our capital outlay. And we also have appraisals out on 3 other lots in town, vacant lots. So hopefully that's what we're looking at as parking this year. Anything else?
They're looking. Give them a moment.
Mr. President, I would
Manager?
just ask a procedural question, if you don't mind. Now that we have the first entity approved, have you ordered your signs yet for the social district? Okay. Sure.
An owner approved before I did, but I could do that tomorrow.
Well, and it is, of course, we just received confirmation of the approved license from Liquor Control. I just wondered if it was in the works or if you're ready to
I
order.
have them ready to check out. My parking signs came in 3 days, so we'll be
Excellent.
good to go.
I understand that you've gone full-time, and I understand the depth of the position. And we're looking, and the DDA approves the salary, your salary, correct, at the DDA board? I mean, we approve the overall budget. So the requested is 55, but then the recommended is 59. And that's like a $9,000.
That's not my
Right.
Oh,
sales,
that's
that's DPW,
DPW.
that's all of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
that
was-
includes DPW salaries.
And I'm not questioning your abilities or what
No.
you should earn, but when I see a $10,000 jump like that, I've struggled with Kimball with $500 before, so.
I'm used to it.
And I squabbled with Sally Sally back in the day about 3 vacation days, so, you know. it's
And
not
she ended up in
directly
prison anyway.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, thank you.
Start with 3 letters.
Thanks for that clarification. Does anybody else have any questions? A motion that we approve the DDA 2024 budget is presented, 2025 budget is presented. I'm just not speaking right tonight.
For the fiscal year
Fiscal year.
2025. Okay. Is there support?
Let's make sure you get it.
Motion by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler, for approval of the DDA fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. Congratulations, Angela.
Congratulations.
It was a good evening.
And you're worth the full.
It's worth hanging in there. Keep plowing on. Regular agenda item number 6, sludge pump repair. Our wastewater treatment plant superintendent is no longer here, but did you want to make a presentation, manager?
Absolutely. I
Interested in
did
that?
tell Clinton to go ahead and go home, so.
Good, okay.
The sludge pump is the item that alerted us to several failing issues in the system at the plant over a year ago. That was the pump that broke due to the decaying sludge storage tank that shipped cement pieces through the pump and damaged it. That pump has been rebuilt more than one time. So when talking to the pump company, we discussed the options of us buying the parts to rebuild, shipping them the pump, having them rebuild it, and then, or purchase a brand new pump. The company provides a 1-year warranty. If they rebuild the pump, they'll rebuild it right back to standard factory specs or better. And they will paint it, which I'm not sure our guys would have painted it. But in the end, that helps to the life of the final product. So my recommendation to the council was to have the pump shipped and rebuilt by the factory or the manufacturer. So it would have a 1-year warranty and it would be as good as new. And the best part about that is it's a direct drop in, so they don't need to drill new holes, add cement, nothing. It just goes right back in the spot where it was.
So last year, or the year before, we sent in a pump to be rebuilt, and they did $7,000 worth of mold work and all kinds of other stuff to it before they started working on it, and then figured out it could be fixed and charged us for the work that they did that they couldn't fix the pump. So what kind of guarantees, if we rebuild this thing, are we gonna have that the same thing's not gonna happen?
Basically, they told us it was not repairable. It was too damaged on the inside.
I see. Well, so this one operates currently at about, I believe Clinton told me 85% efficiency. But it does have damage from cement. So we need to, some technical items here. In the end, if the pump isn't working at a better efficiency, it tends to collect air, and then it won't push the material beyond the point. So our guarantee would be that they are telling us, they've given us a quote to rebuild the actual pump. If they need to replace parts.
We had a quote to rebuild the other pump, and then they did $7,000 of pre-work before they broke the pump apart to see if it was fixable or not, and then charged us for the pre-work they did. So
I've never heard of anything like that. But in this case, we'll get a little more detailed
okay.
commitment from them that this is the cost, regardless of if they have to end up supplying a brand new pump. But they are very familiar with it. Of course, it's been around for 40 plus years. So
So the question I have, is this pump in service or is this a on the shelf right now backup pump if?
no, it is not, it was on the shelf. It is not in service because they're using a different tank and bypassing this tank at the moment.
So, and the only reason I asked that is if a 1-year warranty, I was gonna ask, is it 1 year from the date it gets put in service? Because sitting on the shelf, obviously, it's not gonna wear out in a year if it sits there
Right.
for a year and it's like, oh, sorry, year
Oh, no,
later.
The one
Or
that's,
is it 1 year from when it gets put into service that it won't fall apart on us?
the unit that's there is not functional, so it will be scrapped. And this one, rather than putting it in and starting out at low efficiency, it'll be, once it goes in, it'll be in service hopefully for another 40 years, so.
They happen to give you a estimated lead time?
The other thing that I can tell you is this council approved the purchase of a much larger pump just before I started with the village in January. That was roughly $27,000, as I recall. This would be going in that place instead of that pump that would have required then engineering, reconstruction of the pump room. This replacing like for like is the best.
So for clarification, we approved the purchase, but it was never purchased?
Correct.
Okay. And so we'd have a net savings of around $13,000. Okay.
Well, yeah, at least 10 for sure.
Is a motion needed on this issue?
Yes.
Yes. It exceeds my limits.
So then what happens to the approval of the last one that we didn't buy?
Fades away.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't see
In
that.
your absence, did you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay.
I-
I'll make a motion to have the, MR45 GP pump, refurbished by the manufacturer, Swabi Manufacturing as proposed for a price of, $14,786.00.
Support.
Motion by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Feldman, to approve the sludge pump repair as stated on the record. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimously approved by all those council members in attendance. Next item on the agenda, interim police chief interview committee selection. To make some commentary on that issue. This was addressed at our last meeting. A slight correction, as to process. So at our last meeting, we're indicating, well, this is just an administrative issue, and to be turned over to the manager. And that what was stated on the record last time, I think was emanating from what our charter said, which is that the police chief serves at the pleasure of the manager. But one could misinterpret what that means because the precise words mean exactly that, that the chief serves at the pleasure of the manager. However, it is the council that actually has to vote to approve and enter into the employment contract with the police chief. So while we are putting our manager in charge of the process of establishing what I'm requesting tonight is an ad hoc committee to participate in the interviewing and selection of applicants for that position. And so I'm requesting participation in the ad hoc committee by at least one or two council members. And then the manager will be setting up interviewing of applicants with hopefully at least one police chief. I have invited our county prosecutor, John Miller, to be on this ad hoc council, as there have been some concerns about our department throughout the law enforcement community in Lapeer County, and he accepted that invitation. So we're attempting to do this as professionally as possible, and at least my take on it, and I think there's others as well, is we should have council members participating. But we have interviewed applicants before for the, especially Tim and I have been on a long time, and maybe you too, Mindy. So we have some experience with that. So, and that could go one of two ways. The interviews of the applicants, and apparently it is engendering interest from several potential applicants. The recommendation could be made, this is our candidate, and bring that candidate before council for additional interviewing or approval. Or the ad hoc council could indicate these are our candidates for council to consider, interview, and select. That's how I'm envisioning this, and this is what's happened in the past by custom and practice. It is eventually council that does this, but we're trying to do this as professionally as possible and being thorough and comprehensive. So that's what I'm looking at this point. And I would like, at the very least, for Tim, because of the experience he's had in this whole issue, to be on this ad hoc committee. I don't know if you wanted to participate as well, Mindy. And obviously, you can only have three of us, but.
Yeah, I think my main question just would be time commitment and when we would schedule interviews for, but I'm happy to help. I have experience in hiring. I did have a question on what you indicated about what the charter says and then how it's kind of being interpreted. There was some confusion last time. Is this not spelled out anywhere?
Well, it's spelled out from the standpoint what it says. And the way the law works now the last 20, 25 years is black and white, whatever it says, whatever Merriam's, whatever dictionary you want to go to. So when it says it's limited to the chief serves at the pleasure of the manager, it's everyday functions, and the manager has supervision over the chief. But it does not say the manager selects the police chief. And of course, the years of history in this village is its final approval in the employment contracts between the village and the chief, not the manager and the chief. So you have to look at the particular language, whatever document you're looking at. It has to be very precisely interpreted.
If it says he serves at the pleasure of the manager, does that give the manager firing power? Because that becomes a really, I mean.
Well, so
is this something we need to get clarification from our village attorney on before
not the first time, we've done it multiple times. Manager makes recommendation, but ultimately contract approval comes to council.
Well, here would be my presidential and lawyer opinion on the question you're all asking, is that the chief is hired, there's an employment contract between the chief and the village, and only the village council can terminate that contract. The manager would not have authority to do that. So, by interpretation, if you actually want to spend the money on our village attorney, I don't have an issue with that, but that's certainly in custom and practice is what we've always done. And that is a reasonable, logical, and legal conclusion of all the processes that we're talking about.
Unless you want to work a provision into your contract that gives the manager that right.
Done. Which I would not recommend. And no offense, Manager Cooperson, but that decision, we're talking about essentially significant department heads in this particular department, which is what, $1 million budget, that should be a council decision. It makes sense.
Well, if there's
Mr.
any ambiguity or concern with how the charter is written, then maybe that's a separate discussion about corrections or updates to the charter
Clarity.
for clarification.
That could only be done by a ballot. We put it on the ballot and get ready for a bleep storm. Last time we.
That's okay.
Well, yeah, we want life to be exciting and adventuresome.
Mr. President, can I ask a question?
Mr. Manager.
So then department heads are hired by the council, not by the manager? What, history-wise?
Ryan, DPW and wastewater are hired by the manager.
But so the way that I would interpret it, which isn't far off, we're very, very close, is we do interviews, we have a committee. Certainly the council members are on the committee. I would like that. Then we conclude a candidate based on the interviews. That then a contract is negotiated or presented to the council to approve the person with their contract. So it's really, the difference is it might take any political wind out of the entire process if it follows the way that I'm presenting it.
I may have misspoken slightly. There's a differentiation between department heads, excluding the police chief, and the police chief, because an employment contract is signed with the police chief, and they're not signed with DPW, wastewater treatment plant.
I think there are contracts for,
No, they're under union contract.
oh, they're in the
You're a
union
W-2
contract.
employee, right, Brian?
I'm sorry.
You're a W-2 employee.
My W-2?
Yes.
Yes.
Or we're gonna make him an independent contractor, so he has to
No.
pay his own social security?
No.
We can do that.
No,
Uh,
but the manager hires them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, but that's the distinction. There's an employment contract with the chief, and department heads, it's just a regular W-2 employee. So yes, the manager would have control as to department heads. And yes, he can hire and fire. Police chief has an employment contract. He's not a W-2 employee.
Yes.
Or is
So point of order,
But it's
okay, I
employment
understand that you have a lot of information and a lot of, but this isn't public comment time, right? The discussion is supposed to be between council, and if we ask questions to the folks up here, okay?
So,
So there was
Hmm.
a discussion on why is there a difference between department heads and the police chief? And is it just the responsibilities of the position? Just the curiosity of like what the difference is.
so I didn't draft the charter, which was done before I was alive, I think. So
Section.
it would make sense from that
I can
standpoint.
read this section.
No, I'm just curious as to what, why there's a
Yeah,
difference.
verbally read it.
All administrative officers of the village, except the village manager, the clerk, the treasurer, and the village attorney, shall be appointed by the council upon the recommendation of the village manager and shall serve at the pleasure of the village manager, who shall set their salaries in accordance with budget appropriations and upon recommendations of the village manager. The village manager, clerk, treasurer, and village attorney shall hold office by virtue of appointment by the council, which bodies shall also set their salaries. They shall hold office at the pleasure of the council.
So then what you said, then what Dale was proposing is he would propose the candidate, we would just approve it according to that.
But the candidate would be the recommendation
Yeah.
of the board that reviewed him, of which the majority would be council.
Charter is silent on police chief. Correct.
I would consider him all other administrative officers, except the ones that they specifically pointed out.
So am I actually hearing that council is thinking that the police chief should be just considered as any other ordinary department head? Which is rather incredulous to me. Because it is such a significant position, talking about the safety of the community, crime. It's just like any other department head.
Just a question.
But that goes with the integrity of the person being hired for that position, not necessarily about how that person gets their position. I mean, to me, it's clear that they're saying work as a group, but the recommendation will be made, just like when you make appointments, Steve, for other committees, and then we ratify that. You know, we have a cross-functional discussion, you open it up, hear everybody's side, and then you either make the appointment or don't make the appointment, and then we either vote yes or no. It's kind of the same situation, but instead of you making the appointment or the recommendation, it'll be the village manager after he uses a council to help him make his decision. And I'm not saying a council as in the village council, I'm saying a
How's that different from what I propose? How's that differ? Because that's essentially what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The ad hoc committee interviews and either recommends a particular applicant, or if they think more than one should be looked at by council, then council could look at more than one. But that's what I was suggesting, how the ad hoc committee would work. A recommendation is going to come from that ad hoc committee, and the manager is going to be in charge of that ad hoc committee. So is that really different than what I was suggesting?
That part isn't different. My question was kind of relating to the contracts, like why, and I'm not saying this is a right or wrong, I was just asking like why there's a difference for police chief as opposed to the different departments, why there's a contract,
Right.
as opposed to just regular employment agreement.
Right, because the police chief doesn't, in the past, the police chief contract didn't follow the bargaining agreement like the other employees did. That's where the differential is.
Yeah, he's not in the same union. They're not in, they're
So-
separate.
So
Really, that's the difference is
Or our other department heads are in unions.
either
And they have- there's a
union,
labor
non-union,
agreement,
but they're
yeah.
not contract employees.
Ryan and Clinton don't have individual written contracts like
Right.
Andy has.
Right.
We work every day too, just right along with our guys. We're working supervisors.
Right.
I have to plow snow, I have to fix water
Right.
mains. The chief is in a working position according to the way I
Should
see
be.
That's honest. Do you want an administrative chief or do you want a working chief? I know Dale, you are like, hey, I want to talk.
I was just going to comment, that's exactly where it says there at the pleasure of the manager, he should be directing the activities of the police chief, the DPW director, the clerk, all those people. And at the pleasure, to me, indicates that the manager has the ability to terminate if so, if there's adequate reason.
Maybe that is a village attorney issue.
And hopefully one we don't need to address.
Well,
The
No,
termination
we
question.
need clarification, because if we're changing the process, then we've been doing the process incorrectly for the last
Decades.
decades. So,
The reason, and again, no offense, Dale, but the reason that I have a problem with that is because I think it should only be village council that can initiate or bring about a termination because of the contract between the chief and the village. And the manager having the capacity to do that does not sound right to me legally as an attorney. Thinking, what? No, I don't think so. So,
And
I mean-
I would comment that very well could be muddied by the contract that exists. So the agreement going forward would be, you could easily clear that up too.
true. I suppose, yeah, yes, so the village council could turn its authority over to the manager, which I don't think is wise.
two suggestions. One, that we move along with the committee as designed. While that's going on, we get clarification from our lead. Would that be better going through a labor attorney or through our normal attorney?
Maybe labor, yeah.
Contact labor attorney to get a clarification on what was done in the past and how it should be done, and then go from there.
Yeah, and yeah, obviously it's an employment law issue, and our new labor lawyer,
And I guess
very impressive as far as
Then
knowledge.
I guess the third point, which is a little off a little bit, but what is the plan June 1? Because the hiring process, what's the plan for everyday activity June 1 with Andy going and there a replacement not in place yet?
We have an acting police chief.
Was
June
that?
1st. Is there an acting police chief? June
There isn't.
1st.
Dale?
The typical process would be that you would assign the highest ranking officer to act as police chief in the interim, in the gap.
The highest acting officer was here last time, was here last time, what's the word I want to use? Touting for somebody else for that position, and nothing against that officer, but one, are they capable, and two, are they willing? And three, I received another email from one of our part-time officers today that has sergeant abilities and was well-spoken. And we've got an officer on staff that has an interest in the position and has a master's in
Administration.
public administration. So would it be better, would it be more efficient to at least interview those three and see where they lay and see which one you think would be better than just appointing somebody that might A, not want it, and B,
It's based on rank, is that?
yeah.
I'm concerned about it causing more turmoil in the department. I mean, is it possible for you to assign the shifts as manager?
Well, I think the police department operates as a paramilitary organization. Rank matters most of all. So the difficulty I see is a lower ranking officer giving direction to a superior officer, and that would, to me, would be inappropriate. And I believe it probably is, which I haven't reviewed, would be against their labor contract. So I can check into that. But in the meantime, I'm pretty certain that the highest ranking officer has been appointed acting chief in the past. So I can verify that too, but I'm pretty sure that that has happened. I did have a question or talked about that once before a month or so ago.
Well, I
So,
did explain that probably in our last council meeting, that's how Andy Martin became chief.
right.
We terminated the existing chief at that time. We were not renewing his contract, but we had to have somebody in place. Andy was the only sergeant. Before we terminated the chief, contacted Andy because I didn't want that slot, that position open. It was too
Well,
important.
The question of if it's violating the union is one thing. The paramilitary thing with all the officers not wanting it, we've had every officer in the department come forward and say that the one candidate that does have a master's degree is who they want, and they would respect up to her. So
Sure.
I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
Absolutely. And I will do that because I'll go, like I said, I'll check that and we'll figure out exactly the best route. And I don't disagree with you. That seems to appear to be the best route, but I'll have to review the contract first.
Right, okay. Are we clarified on all the points on that topic, everybody?
So we would have to, I think we council vote on the ad hoc committee. Don't we, Kim?
I would think you'd have to appoint who's going to be on this committee. Yes.
So, yeah, I'm proposing an ad hoc committee to join the selection committee that's going to be headed by our manager, to appoint President Pro Tem and Mindy Steffler and myself. And so,
Right with that.
pardon?
We have no second.
Yeah, right,
We have no second.
yeah. So, not having a full counselor doesn't help. But on the other hand, we don't want to sit on it.
Yeah, when do you anticipate the committee would actually start meeting once you have it gathered?
We'll have the applicants' information by the 30th. It can be reviewed in a day or two, notify them we'd like to see them, set a date within a week to begin the interview. Hopefully, we can do them all on the same day.
What's the date of the June council meeting? So why don't we table the council appointment of the ad hoc committee until June 4th? The applications are only coming in the 30th. That's like a 5-day span. So you could start reviewing, and then we could name the ad hoc committee when full council's here, and then proceed from there. Is that?
And we'll have those clarifications you were asking for.
Applications will proceed that way.
Yeah, it isn't working tonight because,
Consensus with that.
yes. No, that's what it has to be considering. Okay, so that takes care of that issue for the moment.
So just for clarification, the 3 points, we're going to get clarification on the charter and the correct legal way that we're going to go through the hiring process. 2, we're going to make determinations on an interim chief for the period of the hiring. And 3, we're going to table the ad hoc committee council members appointment until the June 4th meeting.
Good summary.
Sounds right. Mhm.
Speaking better.
Okay. Now is the time for public comment for any item that's not on the regular agenda. Is there public comment this evening? Being none. Okay, nothing on open discussion. Manager Kuberson, anything to bring to council?
Yes, I have a few items I'd like to update you on. As you know, I worked a few days last week and I've been here this week. I have a big family function this weekend. So having not necessarily planned to be working at this time, I might have to be off at least one of the next 2 days. So just in case you're wondering where I am, if you call. If you hadn't noticed, I'm not sure if I forwarded you the picture, but the no Jake breaking signs are up. And that's the first step, of course. And quite frankly, I've only heard it one time since. So I don't know if they're noticing it, but
This is a banner night for Mindy. She got her Jake break sign there or water people.
Take my picture with me.
yeah, the press should be covering this. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew they were up. The bulletproof bulletproof vest reimbursement was submitted and we're waiting for approval, but it appears, it's kind of a matter of automatic process. And Amanda did submit that on behalf of the department. I've got a meeting with MEDC and the developer of the theater and office building property. We're early June to discuss their needs from the state and their plans to see if they can receive some sort of support. When I returned after being out for the 2 weeks, there were 248 emails, and I took care of those in the first couple of days. But that is where we learned there was one more item for the LCC to change in our social district, changed it, sent it back, and then we got approval. It's all that stuff just takes so many little steps. But and the social district was approved. I mentioned earlier, the contractors have told us they're starting or reinitiating the paving project in early June in the subdivision. I approved a new sign permit this week. Love Sam. It's a new clothing and home goods store downtown. So that just continues to show that the downtown is growing. I have fielded several calls from potential police chief applicants. I've reached out to one person I know that's retiring that may not have known that the job is open, retiring this month. And like I said, I think we'll have some good candidates the way it looks, for sure. And then the most interesting thing that happened recently is I had a discussion with our engineers who we've used to work with on a regular basis, Row Engineering, regarding a sidewalk extension grant application that they were aware of and working on. Brian met with the engineer on site on a Friday and drove and walked to the area we're thinking of, or would ask for a grant to install a sidewalk, a very big piece of sidewalk on Kidder Road. The engineers moving forward to give us drawings, some renderings, all as part of the process for the grant. It is a very quick turnaround grant. I think it's the second week of June that it's due. They did it that way to keep their number of applicants small. There is one wrinkle. You must have and be able to prove that you have buy-in from the residents where the sidewalk will go. So we will get the rendering and we will visit a few residents. I may reach out to you, members of the council, to either meet with or talk with these people to support the project. I believe the engineers made it clear to me that if there isn't support from the property owners, especially where it would be rather invasive, then we would not get the grant. We wouldn't be considered. So there's, my understanding, 3 sensitive places. So once the drawing's together, we'll get a plan in place to go visit them right away and see if we can get them on board. I think, based on where the site is, that they would not have a problem with it. So, especially if, they knew we were going to restore things and make it as nice as it is now. So.
Do you feel comfortable sharing what sections it is, or you?
Well, I'll tell you, in the end, though, hopefully it doesn't cause an uproar because we're not there yet, but it would be from St. Clair to the subdivision. What's that called? Drakeshire subdivision. And it would require a little bit of a street diet as well in one spot because of a natural feature. But otherwise, very doable project, especially if the state's going to give us some money for it. So. Oh, it'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
In the
Drakeshire to
neighborhood.
The park.
And I've had several requests since I've been here to connect that subdivision to town. So,
Make it feel more like part of the village.
Right. Lots of walkers and bikers and so on. So, fingers crossed, you'll be notified as soon as I get some drawings and we can start the campaign to approve this project. And I believe that's it.
Okay, thank you. Kim?
This is this time of the year for all of our special meetings. So June 4th is slated for a special meeting to set the millage rates at 7:10. A public hearing on the water and sewer rates at 7:15. A budget hearing and truth and taxation hearing on the proposed budget at 7:20. So it's going to be a busy night.
I know you guys have been sad about small agendas, so.
Else? Thank you. Pete?
Just a couple things. The first is related to the water tower. And everybody's gonna be like, oh, no. But actually, Lapeer County Amateur Radio Association has been speaking with them and working with them with search and rescue. But this corner of Lapeer County is about the furthest position from known ham radio antennas in the county. So talking with them, they were wondering if we would be willing to allow them to put a antenna on top of the water tower so that they could close the emergency loop for ham radio.
Brian, he doesn't like stuff on his water tower.
I don't know what else is up there. There's other stuff up there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, can I speak?
Yeah.
We have the internet and we have Lapeer County Central Dispatch. And when the tower was built, Detroit Water and Sewer or GLWA put their stuff on there. Well, then we allowed the internet company to come on and that canceled their signal out. So since 2009, Detroit Water, GLWA cannot communicate with the surrounding communities because they boosted it off our tower. But the internet company canceled their signal out. So that, you're gonna have to get somebody who knows radio waves or whatever this is.
So
To
this
make
is,
sure none of that,
yeah, it won't. So they're looking at operating within the 2-meter spectrum and the 70 centimeter spectrum, which is not close to the FM range, or the
well, go ahead.
VHF and UF.
Another thing you need to consider is it does cost us more money when we have the tower painted because the painting company cannot paint their stuff. So they have to tape it off and all that.
And didn't they?
So I was asked if I would ask if that was an issue or something that we would consider. Right now, what they're trying to do is they have the ability to link right outside of Lapeer to Flint and all the way up to Vanderbilt in northern Michigan and over to Grand Rapids and back down. And our corner of the county has kind of a dead spot between Richmond and then south of here. So
You got the fire and the EMS paging system on there too.
And isn't the state police on there too?
Well, that's
Part of the
Central
911,
Dispatch.
yeah, they took
Yeah.
it over.
Because they went to the
So-
digital radio, what do you call that, encrypted.
800 megahertz,
So-
yeah. So for me, I really don't care what's on the tower because the only thing we do is change the light bulbs up there. But it is a pain because we have so many people that want access. Well, just give me the code. No, you're not getting the code. So we've actually had to come in on overtime for like the state police to let them in to work on stuff and stuff like that. I don't like, well, they teach us to don't let people just come and go as they please, you know, I mean, we're the key holders, you know, so I don't know, that's the only thing I would want to know, how often would they have to access it? If it goes down, is it an emergency, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So, but you
So-
have to get somebody up there to see if there's room too.
So I said I would ask.
Search and rescue obviously is pretty important.
Well, and they're working right now, so they have a team called Aries that is working directly with the emergency manager for Lapeer County. Because basically what Lapeer County is realizing is you have a whole bunch of trained radio operators who can operate on other frequencies than cell, TV, and the normal, that flood if there's an emergency. So they call this Aries team, and then they can set up and use this network. And it's not just radio. They can do internet. They can talk to legitimately the space station off of it if they need to. So they can set up an emergency network if everything else goes down. So I said I would bring it up just to open up the discussion, some thoughts, and I can get more information. So that was the first thing.
I mean, some of the council members are interested in just hearing more about, like, more information, to bring it to open discussion.
Yeah, I can absolutely ask the president of the club. He said he'd be more than willing to come down and give a presentation, an explanation of what they're looking for.
Sure.
That's worthwhile,
Mhm.
just hear them out.
And if they have an agreement somewhere else, we'd like to see a copy.
Okay. Yeah, because they have their own tower just outside of Lapeer, but then they have it on other municipalities around. Okay. The second one is just a question for maybe a future open discussion point. And this is going to start off, and I know, especially people watching, are be like, oh no. But I'll start off with ORV ordinance in the village. We don't have one as far as I understand. I don't know what the township one is. I couldn't find it on their website since it was, I think, embedded in the noise ordinance in the past. There is one for the county, and it's very clearly spelled out. The state has one as well. The state, like M53, is off limits. East St. Clair and West St. Clair, all the way up to the village limits, is off limits by the county. I don't know about the township, where what I understand is township is no paved service. The village doesn't have one because the assumption was, is what I understand is, well, if you can't be on a paved road in the township, how are you going to get to the village? Except that now a lot of them are emanating and starting in the village.
Well, the village is in the township, so that would be breaking the ordinance.
So here's the reason I'm asking, and would like to have this as an open discussion in the future. Earlier this week, I happened to be going by the elementary school and middle school in the morning, and there was 3 side-by-sides, a golf cart and 2 side-by-sides, driving on the service road, which, okay, granted, that could be considered a no-go, but they were there. And what really concerned me was these parents are dropping off kids at school, and I understand it's easier than getting in your car. The concern came is the underaged child who isn't even old enough to go to school, who's sitting in the front seat of a vehicle that has no safety devices on it. You're not wearing helmets as required by state law, and driving down a road with not only adults who go too fast, but 16 and 17-year-old kids who do not pay a whole lot of attention to each other, let alone a golf cart with a 4-year-old or younger child in it that's not in a car seat. And my concern is that we're going to do nothing until one day that one thing happens, and then somebody's going to say, why didn't we do anything? Why did the dumb 16-year-old kid who's screwing around, which we all know we did, gets out of control and hits a golf cart, and a little kid gets hurt or killed?
For a fact, that school is in the township. They're on paved roads.
So
Shouldn't be allowed.
exactly. But it's not like it doesn't happen in the village. We know it happens in the village. So there's two things. One is, are we going to enforce what we have? 1. And 2, is it enforceable if we don't have it in the village? So I just wanted to bring it up, open discussion point for later. This isn't the point, but, it wasn't just a single instance. There was 3 in a row that went by us with that same situation. And it's like, it's getting more and more and more. Yeah. And
What harm would there be to the village residents if we did pass such an ordinance?
you're gonna have you're gonna have an outrage. I'll just say that.
Wow.
Yeah. I have seen
So,
golf cart driving on the bike path a couple of times recently. It's where else are they driving around?
Well, the bike path is no motorized vehicle.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be on, but they're not supposed to be on Kidder Road either.
Right.
Right.
So
That's
where
the
are they
township.
going from here?
And they're already violating township ordinance if they're driving on paved roads in the village. Because I know we get a bunch of them in my neighborhood.
And I have been approached by at least one resident asking about like, what's the right way to do this? And I was like, there's not. We don't have, we don't, it's not allowed currently.
Yeah,
And they
so-
said, with village consider it, like on a permit basis?
Well, if there's outrage, it's gonna be just like the social district was. There's two sides to every story, so we hear why they want to drive their golf carts in town and then tell them why they can't.
I mean, even under state law, technically speaking, you can't get from east side of Elmont to west side of Elmont because you're not supposed to cross the M Road.
Talking about an ordinance, you're talking about regulation, and then the question is, are you over-regulating if you're doing it? If you're talking about a potential tragedy, you're right, bad thing happens, and
Well,
it struck by a car and somebody
yeah,
dies
and
of
the
it.
concern is that
So,
there's a reason there's a motor vehicle code.
Yeah.
And that, you know,
safety.
and even under ORV law, because I read it today, the state law is if you're under, you're not, well, one, you can't be driving it if you're under 16. Two, you're supposed to have a helmet on unless the vehicle has proven that its cage is greater than a DOT approved helmet. Well, a golf cart isn't going to meet that threshold. Maybe some of the side-by-sides will. But any way you take it, we can pass all the ordinances and laws and everything else. If we're not going to enforce them, then it's,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, you said, looked like you want to say something.
Well, I was just gonna say, in theory, you have time to put that question on a ballot if you wanted.
That would be
Might be
one.
helpful just to have the clarification first.
Yeah.
What rules apply,
Mhm.
but certainly, I mean, the situation that you're describing is concerning and seems like it's already in violation of township or
Yeah, which
state
I couldn't-
ordinances.
I couldn't
Is that
find
just drawing attention for Officer Manning? If she's there to maybe give a warning at least, like, yeah, this is not.
Well, and I know what's happening, right? You don't see it in the wintertime because it's cold on those things. You're gonna have to take your little kid on it in the winter. But the nicer it gets out, the more common it is. But that's all I had. Not to, you know, throw.
Well, just one follow-up thought is, you put on the ballot, so it's like, okay, it's a potential hot button issue, so we won't bear the burden of whatever would be flying at us if we take it on. And potentially talking about a life and death issue, take it on. I guess is my attitude. We're willing to do social district, which hopefully will not result in any deaths or serious injuries. Sounds like something we should be willing to take on. It's just my gut reaction. I agree we should look at it. Thanks, Pete. Tim, anything to bring to council?
Yeah, two things. First of all, I negotiated with Brian to, when I voted yes on the wheat machine, to get my TV antenna up on the tower. On a more serious note, it was brought to my attention by a neighbor yesterday that a local business had unpacked and some brown rats escaped from the business and they're flowing around town. So they trapped a brown rat that is the size of a gopher. And there were several of them that got loose, so I don't know how you address that, but brown rats within two brown rats within a year can mate themselves into 1,500 brown rats in 1 year. So
They're both males. Oh, holy smokes.
I don't understand where they came from.
But I think, is it confirmed or is it
they-
speculation?
what's that?
Is it confirmed or is it speculation?
I'm hearing it secondhand, but it was from a business that's pretty close to here. I'll state it. I'll let you know after, but because it's speculation.
It might be speculation.
It's speculation, but
there might be another source.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying.
okay. Well, no matter what the source,
Yeah, I agree.
there's a possible rat issue. So, I'm getting it secondhand, obviously, but I saw videos of the live rat trap, so. It's
Not the rat, though.
what's that?
Not the rat.
I saw the rat in the trap.
Oh, in
on
the-
a video.
oh.
Yes. Yes. And it was not a little baby mouse. It looked like the
Sort of
gopher.
like Mickey,
What's that?
like Mickey.
No, it looked like the gopher from Caddyshack.
Oh, jeez.
Only up in your eyes.
Swell.
So just to be aware.
Okay. Is that Mindy?
We have Park board meeting on Thursday. I spoke about the bathrooms being open during the day as a potential at our last meeting, and I did pose a question about liability. I know Dale was just coming back in. I wasn't sure if there was any time to look into that issue at all. Maybe that's something Kim or Dale, you could follow up with me. Just so I can pass that information back to the park board, because that was one of the concerns. So it's like, are we liable for whatever might happen if bathrooms are open? And I think that is it. I'll have updates after our meeting to share with council.
Thanks for showing us love.
Yeah, I think this is Royster.
We're adjourned.
Not done.
So Mindy, are you aware of the vandalism at the park?
Yeah, I